If you've watched political YouTube content at any point over the last year and a half, then I can guarantee you've seen this guy. This is Charlie Kirk. He's the founder of Turning Point USA, a conservative student action organization to promote conservative ideals and get conservative politicians and Republicans elected. Charlie Kirk is a self-made man. He didn't go to college, and he has created an enormous youth organization that is in hundreds of campuses across the country. It's genuinely pretty impressive. Typically, Charlie Kirk's content that you see on social media will consist of him going to a college campus, setting up a booth, and arguing and debating with students. The goal of these videos is to show how much Charlie Kirk can own the libs and destroy the competition. But the problem is, Charlie Kirk often also engages in bad faith argumentation, falling into logical fallacies and other pitfalls of debate that do not serve an atmosphere of respectful and constructive discourse in the way that he might want you to believe. Charlie will often lament the fact that he is here to provide an open forum where anyone can challenge him on anything. Don't just tell me I'm wrong, tell me why I'm wrong, right? Sometimes he will engage with the student in a good faith conversation, but fundamentally, I believe that Charlie Kirk is a bad faith debater. He will use the power of the crowd, he will misrepresent students' arguments, and he'll use different forms of intuition pumping and logical fallacies to forward points that are not necessarily supported by either fact or the debated topic. Because of these reasons, I believe that Charlie Kirk is a bad faith debater. Let me explain. One of Charlie Kirk's most powerful and potent forms of getting his message out there is obviously YouTube Shorts. You've probably seen these videos on Shorts before, or other social media sites that largely contain short-form video content. So let's take a look at one of these clips right now. Roll the clip.
Absolutely. So I think that Biden-Harris administration was in an unfortunate position when they came into office. It was, around the height of the COVID pandemic. And I wish I had exact numbers for you right now. I should have done more research on that. But the inflation rate has gone down since the height of COVID.
Let me just ask, do you guys feel inflation has come down at all? So, no, it's okay. So This is important. I'm not picking on you.
So the student in this clip mentions that inflation has cooled, which it has. I mean, it peaked at like 9% in 2022, and it's gone down to somewhere around 2%. Charlie turns to the crowd, and his first question is that how you feel? He's engaging in sort of a form of the bandwagoner's fallacy here, because the only information that you and I can glean from this call and response is that people think that the economy might be bad or that prices might be too high. Their vibe is off about something, I don't know. This then forms the crux of his argument. He literally turns back to the college kid that he's debating and says,
but this is the problem with just overly studying what the economists say. The American people don't buy this garbage because they're feeling the pain every single day.
Mm-hmm. What does this even mean? Over studying what the economists say? Why are we relying on like these partisan feelings of a bunch of college kids on how like we should construct our economic debate or like figure out our data? Now the kid does concede basically that he does not have the data at hand, that maybe he should have done more research, but we have data on this, bro. Like, it's not that hard. We can look at the Fed or the CPI or like any of these other, monitors of economic health and very clearly see that since 2022, inflation has gone down. And that's made even worse by the fact that this is a clip from just a few months ago. This isn't like in 2022 when inflation was actually really bad. This is from the side that says facts, not feelings, by the way. Yet Charlie Kirk's barometer for what economic health is literally just asking a bunch of college kids that are all wearing MAGA hats and already agree with him what they think of the economy, as if this is any sort of measure or any sort of evidence. Charlie Kirk always tries to pride himself in these videos and in these situations as being someone that has access to a ton of evidence and can really, give students the real picture of what's actually going on, what they don't want you to know. But in this case, what they don't want you to know is how a bunch of college kids are feeling. It just doesn't make any sense. Again, this is the side that says facts, not feelings. Yet Charlie just goes off of people's feelings and ignores any sort of data, even though he is perfectly aware of the fact that inflation has gone down. If he wanted to actually engage in a discussion about something like this, he could very easily talk about why he believes government spending, added to inflation or something like that. But instead, that's not what he cares about. What he cares about is getting the crowd mad. When Charlie is presented with the facts, he just defaults to the guy getting booed off the mic. That's nothing, though, compared to this next clip. Roll it.
Was Hitler a bad person objectively?
No, if you mean by the way,
Tread slowly.
No, but he's being honest. At its core, atheists cannot say that Hitler was bad.
Can I make the claim now? Notice who here is relying on feelings and not facts. Your argument is, I feel that Hitler was objectively
No,
wrong.
I know.
No, you feel that way. Can you provide me evidence of how you know? Can you provide me evidence that morality is objective?
Morality is both reason and revelation, and it's built within to us that murder is wrong. Is it objectively wrong to murder kids?
When you say objective, what I mean by objective...
So this is a clip of a college student essentially arguing that objective morality does not exist, that we cannot observe moral truth in the same way you or I could observe that this is a cup in my hand, or that I'm sitting in a chair. Charlie knows this exact argument that this kid is making. I know this because he teases it out a little bit in that short. And in other debates, more formal debates that you see Charlie in, he will actually argue for the existence of God and for the existence of a moral truth. But not when he's trying to get clicks, obviously. Charlie knows the exact argument that this kid is making. The kid's arguing that there cannot be an objective morality, because insofar as there isn't concrete, irrefutable evidence for the existence of God or some other a priori or supernatural designer of ethics, we cannot ascribe moral fact to statements like violence is wrong. Instead of actually engaging with what this student has to say, Charlie is just bringing up a bunch of hypotheticals, which are basically just intuition pumps rather than arguing the existence of moral fact. He'll say, how can you say that this horrible thing isn't wrong? And then the whole crowd will go, of course it is, when the kid isn't able to actually answer, because he's trying to enter into a philosophical discussion instead of ceding to a crowd of people that don't understand the level of argumentation that is going on here. Charlie knows that these kids will react this way. Charlie knows that he's trying to pigeonhole this student into saying controversial things. He doesn't care though, because again, it's going to get him clicks. It's going to show everyone how much he owned the libs, without actually entering into a good faith discussion, even when Charlie knows what this kid is saying. He knows exactly what he's doing here, especially when you realize he has a big crowd watching and booing every time the kid opens his mouth. When he gets tested on his throwaway line that morality is both reason and revelation, he defaults back to the intuition pump. But Shane, these are just clips. These are 20, 30-second clips that are cut up of different debates. Now, I include them in this video because these are things that are posted and reposted by Turning Point USA and by Charlie Kirk himself, but sure, maybe it's not the most fair way to look at it. So let's look at some full debates of Charlie Kirk going at it with other students and see why it doesn't make his case any better.
On the economy, everyone would here agree the economy was better under Donald Trump than Joe Biden. Everyone would agree. They would say that higher wages, prices were more affordable, the economy was more stable, period.
Charlie opens up his defense of Trump by saying that everyone here would agree that the economy was better. This is basically what I said he was doing before, going back to that same line of defense. This is completely ignoring the fact that during Trump's term, we experienced the worst recession since the Great Depression, sky-high unemployment, and the stock market fell to record lows. All of that was reversed during Biden's term, but he doesn't care about that. You can argue that Trump wasn't to blame for any of that. But if that's the case, then how can you argue Charlie just shrugging off COVID, playing a role in Biden's economic recovery while using college students' emotions to form an argument about inflation, as we saw in that first clip? Let's keep going.
On wars, how many new wars started under Donald Trump?
None.
How many under Joe Biden?
I forget.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to even count. I mean, you have Gaza-Israel, Israel-Iran, you have Ukraine-Russia, you have Yemen against Saudi Arabia. Under Donald Trump, no new wars, period, globally, across the planet. It's never happened before in 30, 40 years, so you can't equate the two. So as a Christian, blessed are the peacemakers. Trump is a peacemaker, right?
Did he make any peace?
Oh, yeah.
This is a common argument, that Trump had no new wars under his term. And yeah, Charlie isn't necessarily wrong here. There were no new major state versus state conflict that happened under Trump. If I was the student debating Charlie, I'd say that Trump set up things like the takeover of Afghanistan by emboldening the Taliban against the US-backed Afghan government, but I rest my case. Even then, the main point of the argument here is that there was some sort of world peace under Trump, but that could not be further from the truth. Do you guys not remember, do we just not remember this? In 2020 when everyone was terrified that World War III was going to happen and posting all the TikToks about it because Trump killed Soleimani. Tensions ratcheted up with North Korea. We were airstriking Syria. Russia was still in Crimea. Russia was building up their offensive line on Ukraine's border. These were all things that were happening under Trump's term. It's not like there was complete and utter world peace as Charlie makes it out to be. But sure, the kid didn't make the point, so we'll move on.
How can you endorse someone who lost the last election fair and square. There's no evidence.
Let him finish, guys.
Republican secretaries of state claimed it was fair. Trump tried to leverage the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. He said, find me 11,700 votes. He has no respect for losing in our system. And what happened on January 6th happened on January 6th. A disaster. Our capital got stormed for the first time since 1812. You people claim to love America. Like, how does that not fire you up?
You're brainwashed. All right, so it's a fair question. So let's talk through a couple elements of this. First, do you think the CIA should involve itself in American elections?
No.
Okay, so it did in 2020.
Show me proof.
Okay, well, Tulsi Gabbard knows this. She could tell you 50 intel officials colluded, led by Tony Blinken, due to declassified emails, signing an open letter calling the Hunter Biden laptop
So
Russian.
why weren't any of the lawsuits
Let me
successful?
finish. I did not. Hold on.
He raised plenty of them.
Hold on a second. I didn't interrupt you, right? So let me finish. 50 intel officials, current and former, signed a letter that was used to censor on social media the fact that there is a laptop owned by Hunter Biden that showed very suspicious and criminal activity by both Hunter and Joe Biden. According to the Media Research Center, 1 out of 4 voters in swing states would have changed their vote if they would have known about the Hunter Biden
That's
laptop.
an utter ridiculous statement to
Well,
make.
I just cited it.
He lost by 7 million votes.
Well, hold on. No. He lost by
And the popular vote.
42,000 votes across 3 states. Hold on, pal. How much did he lose Arizona by?
Okay.
No. Hold on. How much did he lose this state by?
It's not about the final score. It's
10?
a winner and a
No,
loser.
hold
He
on.
lost.
No,
That's how our system works.
We have an electoral college system.
Yeah.
So
who
how much?
got the electoral votes?
No, of course Biden did. But what was
Yeah.
the margin in Arizona?
I don't know.
It was
It's
10,000
not
votes.
in the back of my head.
Yeah. So how much in Georgia?
It was 11,700. That's
Yeah.
what they told
Okay.
Raffensperger to find
and in
him.
Wisconsin, it was
A Republican
Let
who
me
denounces
finish.
them.
And in Wisconsin, it was 21,000, right? So it was actually 42,000, not 7 million. So when you're talking about the CIA and the Department of Justice signing a letter that was then used to, I did not have my Twitter account for 30 days. We were not allowed to mention the Hunter Biden
Because
laptop.
you violated a private company's privacy.
Well, no,
like,
actually, I
own
didn't.
guidelines.
It's actually
yes, you did.
no, because of the Twitter files, thanks to Elon Musk. We now know the FBI told Twitter to say you are not allowed to mention the Hunter Biden laptop. Am I correct in this, Tulsi?
That's correct.
And
So you don't trust the FBI at all?
Well,
People who
not
have
at all.
devoted
No.
their life to civil service.
That's a red herring. I'm saying in that instance, Yoel Roth. Do you know who Yoel Roth was?
I don't know
Yeah,
who
okay.
Roth
Yoel
is.
Roth was the head of security, trust, and safety for Twitter that had a what's called a standing room meeting every Tuesday with the Federal Bureau of Investigation in San Francisco, where they met about Russian threats to American interference of elections, and they said this laptop is not allowed to be discussed on your platform. That impacted our election. People made their decisions differently in 2020, not knowing the full picture that this laptop existed, and that was the October surprise. So you would agree that that's not a fair
You think
election.
the laptop would have flipped the election for him?
Well, we're talking about 42,000 votes in 3 states, and I already cited a study that 1 in 4 swing voters would
A
have changed
study
their,
by who?
the Media Research
Clarence
Center.
Thomas is Winnebago buyer. Like, who funds these?
I just said by the independent, nonpartisan Media Research Center, where they said 1 out of 4 voters would have changed their opinion. So I just want to make sure we're clear, though. You agree our government should not interfere with our elections.
Well, they have to regulate them by nature. That's the states have to.
Well, no, hold on.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have an election because you need rules
I
and
said
a judge.
interfere.
So the student here is arguing that Trump does not respect democracy or our democratic institutions because of his role in inciting the January 6th insurrection. In response, Charlie goes after a red herring, bringing up a substantively different argument by talking about the Hunter Biden laptop story. The reason this is a logical fallacy is because there is a difference between election interference and violently trying to stop the peaceful transfer of power across administrations by inciting an insurrection and planning a fake elector scheme. These are different things. They're not the same at all. You can argue that people's votes would have been different if they knew more about the Hunter Biden story or all these other things, but that does not change the fact that votes were cast, the election was completed, there was no fraud. You see Charlie isn't trying to make an argument that there was mass fraud here because he knows it's an indefensible and false position, and it was a Trump-led mob that tried to stop that process from completing. Even if I give Charlie 100% truth to all of his arguments, right? Even if I grant him that his argument's totally right, which I don't, because he's lying about things like the Twitter files proving that the FBI was threatening social media companies. Even if I grant his argument a veneer of truth. He still knows that it's not dealing with the same question of behavior in relation to elections. This is just another example of Charlie trying to dodge the bullet instead of answering a question head on, because he knows he doesn't have a good answer for how you want to elect someone that is constantly disrespected democracy and led a violent assault against it.